So I used to stay in this place called Sandawana, which was an emerald mine in southeast of Zimbabwe. It was right out in the middle of nowhere. It was about 300 kilometers of really bad dirt from the mine before you got to a tar road, and then it was about 300 kilometers on the tar road before you got to the nearest city, which was called Bulawayo. And so I used to spend about 3 weeks of every month out there, and then for the other week I used to shoot into town and go work from town. But I loved it out there. It was awesome. I lived in this house which was right up on top of a hill, and it looked out over the mine and the whole area. And this house was supposed to have 5 people living in it, and I was the only dude that was there. And not only that, but the mine employed a cook housekeeper called John. And John was a great guy. He was a fantastic cook. One of the first nights that I was there, he made this thing called a pineapple upside down, which was a sort of sponge affair with cream and pineapple rings. I'd never had it before. And I said to him, man, John, this thing is awesome. This is maybe the best pudding I've ever tasted in my life. And you know, for the next 2 years, every single goddamn night, he made me pineapple upside down for pudding. And even after I got sick of it, which was pretty bloody quick, he carried on making it, and I had to pretend that I loved it because he had been so chuffed. He was just so chuffed with it. But like I say, he was a great guy. Him and I had a really good little tradition that we developed, because every payday was on a Friday, and so on Fridays I'd come home from the mine and I'd bring my pay with him, and I'd give him his pay, and then him and I would grab a couple of beers and we'd go sit in the back step of the house, and we'd just talk shit. We'd just catch up. And you know, I used to tell him stuff that was going on in town, and maybe things that I had learned that he didn't know, and he would tell me heaps of stuff I didn't know, stuff about his life and stuff about the bush and the area and the animals and African culture and that sort of thing. But there's one particular Friday, I came home from the mine, and on the way home I'd stopped at the beer hall and had a couple of drinks with my mate Jabez. Not too many, but I got home and I gave him his pay, and then we grabbed a couple of beers and we went and sat on the back step. And you know, we're chatting away, and it was a beautiful night, and it was all clear, and a big old full moon hanging in the sky. And I looked up at this thing and I thought, you know, John probably knows nothing about the moon landing and nothing about the Apollo program and NASA and Neil Armstrong. So I'm going to tell him about this. I'm going to smack him with some knowledge, and he's just going to be so amazed. So I said to him, I pointed at the moon and I said, hey John, when I was Ramuntu and Hambiri Rapu Moon Munyatan. So you know that people have been to the moon. And he looked at me. He said, Chokwad. Yeah, Chokwad. And Hambiri Rapu Moon. He said, Indaw and Hambiri Rapu Moon. So why have they gone to the moon? How have they gone to the moon? So I told them it was a science thing. And these guys at NASA had built this giant rocket, and that's what took people to the moon. So what's a rocket? It's like a giant airplane. It's like a really big airplane. People get in this thing and they fly to the moon. Okay. Indian ends are lopsided. So what do they do there? So I said, wow, all sorts of things there. So you know, they've got this thing called a lunar rover, which you can drive around in, and they drive around the moon and they collect rocks. And the one time this guy went up there with a golf club and a bunch of golf balls, and he was whacking them all over the place. And I said, and a thing about the moon, there's not much air there. So everyone always has to wear these special suits. Yeah, everywhere where you go on the moon, you've got to wear this spacesuit. And then he was looking at me with side eyes, not really believing what I was telling him. He said, "Ipi na Shara Rapu Moon. So where do they stay when they're there?" I said, well, they stay in this lunar lander. So what's this thing? So how do you describe what that is? So I said to him, it's like a flying house. It says you can live in it, and if you need to fly somewhere, you can fly in it. Okay. And then he asked the important question, the really important question. What do they do with the rocks that they collect? And I said to him, I don't know. They just take it back and they put it in the lunar lander for the science guys. Yeah, he didn't believe a word I was saying. He was not amazed at all. Yeah, we kind of changed subject, and we just carried on chatting, and he said, nah, I've got to go. And so he got up and he buggered off home. Next morning I woke up at about 5:30 to get ready for work, and I walked out of my room and John was there, which was really weird because John didn't normally work on a Saturday. And not only was he there, but he had made this giant pot of coffee. So we had this special coffee we used to import from South Africa, which was bloody expensive. So I used to drink about 1 cup a week, and he had made this pot that was about 7 or 8 cups worth. And I said to him, John, why are you here on a Saturday? And thank you for the coffee, but why have you made coffee? He said, after I got home last night, I was thinking about our conversation, and I was worried about you, boss. I was worried. So I thought I'd better come in early and just check that you were okay to get to work. I said, that's very nice of you, but why? He says, because, man, you were drunk last night. You were hammered last night. And I thought maybe you wouldn't be able to get up for work. I was drunk, really? Yeah, you were pissed out of your head. I didn't think I was. Why do you say that? He says, man, you were talking the biggest load of bullshit. You kept talking about people going to the moon, and man, you were so drunk, so drunk. Man, it's like, geez, I have to defend my honor here. I said, no, John, actually, the stuff I told you about people going to the moon, that was true, that's real, that actually happened. He goes, John, boss, you must still be drunk. Here, have some coffee. You need to drink coffee. You can't go to work like this. I said, no, John, honestly, I'm sober. I'm not drunk at all. And I'm telling that people, boss, you mustn't drink so much. You're too young to be drinking so much. It's not good in your life. This is no good. It's no good. I said, John, no, really. People have been to the moon. He said, boss, if you go to work drunk, they will fire you. They will fire you. And I don't want you to be fired. So I'll make you some breakfast. Have some more coffee. Have another cup of coffee. And it's like, then I thought about it. I was like, why am I persisting with this? Why am I trying to convince John of this stuff? He clearly doesn't believe me. And even if he did believe me, what is he going to do with this newfound knowledge? Nothing. It's worth nothing to him. All the technologies that got man from the earth to the moon and brought them back safely and all that stuff, John doesn't care about that. He's never going to use it. So why am I trying to force this knowledge on him? So I went, look, John, look, I'm really sorry. You're right. I was very drunk last night. It was terrible. I try not to do it again. Yeah, let me grab some more coffee. And that was it. Now, about 10 years later, I ran into my friend Jabez. Now, Jabez was my big mate at San Luana. He was my big buddy. His full name, by the way, was Mr. JJCAM Chiwandire Kapote Amvongo Jabez. So I was chatting to Jabez, just catching up, and I said to him, hey, how's John? And he says, no, he's good. He's still there, still working at the house. Oh, that's awesome, man. He says, but man, he tells some stories about you. So really? Yeah, he says that you were quite a wild child. You were a real drunkard. You used to drink heaps, and when you were drunk, you used to talk shit, talk biggest load of bollocks. Turns out, my friend John had retold this story to many people, many times. And not only that, he had embellished it. He had added bits to make the story better and make me seem like a lying, drunken bum. Apparently, I had told him that on the week that I wasn't there, I used to get in an airplane and I used to fly to the moon. Yep, not go to town. I used to fly to the moon on this airplane. And I had told him that on the moon, everybody was always very smart, very well dressed. There's no t-shirts and shorts and trainers or veldskins. No, everybody has to wear suits. It's very smart. You have to be smart if you're on the moon. And I'd also said to him that you couldn't go to the moon unless you knew how to play golf. If you didn't know how to play golf, no moon for you. You stay on the earth. And I had told him that one time I took my Land Rover with me to the moon. I had this 1962 buggered old Land Rover. No windscreen, no doors, no roof. But I had taken it to the moon, and I had spent a couple of days with my mates driving around the moon collecting rocks. Just collecting rocks. And on the moon, I said to him, people lived in flying houses, not normal houses, flying houses. And flying houses were wonderful because if you lived in a place that you didn't like, or you had a rubbish neighbor or something, you could just jump in your house and you could fly somewhere else and you could live there instead. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And in the flying houses, by the way, according to John, people didn't have furniture. They didn't have chairs, they didn't have beds, they didn't have tables, they didn't even have houseplants. What they had instead is they filled their houses up with rocks. With rocks. Special moon rocks. And it's because the moon rocks are super special. They're much better than the ones on Earth. They may be made of gold or something, but people like to have them in their houses, nothing else. So me and Jabez had a good laugh about this. And some people might have been a little bit offended by the fact that John had retold the story many times to many people and embellished it and made me look a drunken bum. But I was not offended at all. I thought it was delightful. I thought it was brilliant. Because John, the master and the king of Pineapple Upside Downs, was a way better storyteller than me. A way better storyteller than me. And he had spiced up the story so well that he entertained people. And not only that, he called me out on my bullshit. My bullshit about the moon landing and rockets and NASA and flying houses and Neil Armstrong. And that's brilliant. Love you.